All right, perfect. Welcome everyone. Thank you all for joining us for today's webinar on the 4 critical workflows to automate fulfillment in today's business. My name's Elise Klein, and I am a senior marketing development representative here at ShipHawk. And I've had the pleasure of speaking with folks similar to yourself, or perhaps we've had a conversation before that have, reached out and were really curious to learn what ShipHawk is and how it can help their fulfillment process for the last few years. Today, I am joined by Rob Meyer, and Rob is our senior solutions consultant and has been instrumental in helping ShipHawk customers not only get the most out of their ShipHawk solution, but really going above and beyond to ensure they receive the answers to any business problems that they are looking to solve. So Rob, let's get started. Maybe you want to start off with a brief introduction and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure thing. Thanks, Elise. So, hey, all, I'm Rob Meyer. Today, I'm a senior solutions consultant here at ShipHawk. What that basically means is that I work mostly with pre-sales today, making sure both our prospects and current customers feel good about potential solutions, and so do we. Right. So, before that, though, I was actually part of the implementations team, actively onboarding newly signed customers. And I also still work with the professional services team who are responsible for that onboarding and implementation. So kind of have a unique perspective on both sides of the house here. So pretty excited to show you how ShipHawk could complement what we're trying to do today.
Awesome. Thanks, Rob. Yeah, so from that, if you guys didn't gather, Rob has really seen it all. So as I mentioned earlier, we're going to dive into the 4 most popular workflows that we see our clients utilizing to just have continued success, increase efficiencies, and maximize their workforce. By the way, super exciting, everyone who attends the majority of this webinar will get entered into our grill giveaway sweepstakes, where you will get a chance to win a brand new grill from one of our awesome customers, RecTech. I also just want to call out that this is going to be a high-level introduction into our platform, and we'll be diving into those 4 main workflows, specifically around rating, packing, rules, and reporting. And I also wanted to mention that we'll be recording this webinar, so after you will receive a follow-up email with the webinar for sharing and rewatching purposes. So getting right into it, one of the most questions I get asked is around rating. So Rob, do you want to maybe jump into rating and kind of explain what it is and why it's important?
Yeah, sure thing. Let's get right to it. So where I'm going to bring you in is within our demo Shopify instance. I want to show off how we're helping e-commerce customers accurately rate and curate kind of an ideal customer experience within the cart. Again, you'll see it in Shopify. To call out, though, we do have many cart integrations today. Shopify, Magento, SweetCommerce Advanced. And then, of course, we also have an open REST API. So really any cart would be in play. And if it is a BigCommerce, that one's in play as well. So let's get into it here. And actually, I'm going to bring you to this experience here. So you can see that you're here in ShipHawk, right? We're obviously a very creative group here. This is just ShipHawk in Swedish, so we're IKEA. So welcome to our store here, Purveyor of Fine Goods. What I want to run you through is basically that customer experience and how we're affecting it. So you can see already within the cart, I already have my taillet that I've been seeking forever within the cart. I also then, at this point, have my information. And it's at this point with ShipHawk is that we're going to be able to experience this rating functionality. And so what's going to happen here is as soon as I click on to continue to shipping, is that our Shopify app here in this case is going to compile a request of all the information here from the form. So origin, destination, multi-origins in play here with a lot of our carts as well. And it's also going to take all of your items that are within the cart as well. And it's going to send an API request to ShipHawk's rating API endpoint. And when ShipHawk receives that request, its first job is actually to run a feature which we call smart packing, right? You can also call it cartonization. That algorithm exists to create a packing configuration which is the most efficient. So minimizing void space, minimizing materials used, and minimizing the number of shipments here, because that is going to get you the best rate in this case. And so from there, once we figured out what that is, and that we're going to send the request out to all of your connected carriers. At the end of the day, ShipHawk is not a freight broker, right? What our role here, especially in the rating piece, is to help you leverage your existing relationships in the best ways possible. So From there, we'll send the request to your connected carriers. They'll of course say, we'll take it for this amount. They'll bring it back to ShipHawk, and they'll bring it back to the cart. And that's all going to happen within a couple seconds, right? And within this cart, it will be able to rate both parcel and LTL in the same rate request. We'll see in this case, it's just going to be a parcel order just to simplify it for this demo experience here, especially for an introductory one. So we're going to see as soon as we click on that, what's going to happen is that it's going to come back. And as if you work with Shopify before, you know, it's really good at caching, right? So an instantaneous response. And I do this and I show you this, and I want to show you the native behavior of ShipHawk, and what it does is that it will return all of your negotiated rates back to cart. So that's real-time rating here within the cart, and it proves it does something, right? Which is pretty neat. However, I think for a from a customer experience standpoint, this might be ideal, or it might be a little overwhelming, especially with parcel, right? Because I see I have like 30 different rates here. Myself, maybe I have zero idea what the difference between any of this is, and I get a little overwhelmed. I abandon the cart. Nobody's happy. So this is where another concept of ShipHawk comes in, which is rules, one of those 4 key workflows with rules. Rules exist to complement or further augment what ShipHawk's automation is already doing, right? We already know it's providing those real-time accurate rates. How could we make that better? So in this case, we're going to have a couple rules in play here. We'll take a deeper dive into the rules engine a little bit later, but one of my flavors of rules are called rating rules, and rating rules affect that experience within the cart. And we can discriminately deploy those rules. Say, maybe I have multiple Shopify storefronts. I want to act a little bit different in each one. Also, I might have a B2B arm of my business, and within perhaps NetSuite, I am quoting for orders in there, and I need to act a little bit differently. Rules will help me achieve that, right? So 3 rules we commonly see are: number 1, masking the carrying service. So because we do that because for 2 reasons. One, as a customer, really all I care about is when's it going to get to me? How much does it cost? And second, if I promise a specific carrying service, no longer can I optimize. I am committed to having to use that carrying service. And as silly as that is, if I tell somebody it's coming via UPS and FedEx shows up, now I have a problem, right? So we'd obviously love to circumvent that potential issue. So we're going to mask the carrying service. We're also going to use a rule that basically for markups, right? So maybe a modest markup of 10%, because we can see, yes, this is your true negotiated rate. And if you're doing so well that you can pass on just your straight rate back, that's amazing. However, most of our customers would mark up just a little bit. So shipping is never a loss. It's typically a net neutral, or it could be a profit center. We see markups anywhere between like 10, 100%, depending on the vertical. So you control your destiny as far as that goes. And then also free shipping rules here, free shipping of the cheapest rate, perhaps promotional, perhaps over a certain spend. So we'll see these 3 rules. And let's say that I've just turned those on in real time. You'll see later the ShipHawk's rules engine is freely available for you to administrate at any time, and it's super intuitive for you to control the experience here. So all those turned on, it could look like this, all right? So we see a much cleaner experience within the cart that provides a best experience for the customer here, and also protects me as far as, you know, capturing the right cost in here. And also with smart packing, that is integrated with the rating piece, and also within the packing and shipping solution. So you have a consistent experience all the way across the board, so that you're always, so your shipping costs are predictable and reliable. So that's rating within the e-commerce platform. Again, many different carts. If we don't have a pre-built integration for you, we also have the Open REST API, which you can work with us to build that out. Pretty straightforward. If you want to take a look at that, our Open API docs are at docs.shiphawk.com. So if you want to peruse those while or after the call, yeah, feel free to do that. The other place I do want to take you here is I talked about rating within e-commerce, right? But that's not applicable to everybody. In that case, especially for more a B2B operation, this might be, you know, not in play at all. The other place I can take you here is within NetSuite, right? As far as ERP integrations, we're primarily in NetSuite today. We also have many customers within the Acumatica space. But again, because we have that open API, we are able to integrate with many different ERPs. We've integrated with Odoo before, Dynamics. We've done it with SAP B1. So really, you're not limited just because you don't have NetSuite. Acumatica can definitely still work with you. So for this example here, we're going to look at this from basically, it's just an ERP, right? So what I look at here is that if I am in a situation where I'm taking an order and I need to get a quote for shipping now, the typical experience that we see is that if I'm a salesperson, I'm going to go out to many different websites to get quotes from. It takes a long time and ultimately kind of a frustrating piece. Or even perhaps even worse is that you got to call down to the warehouse and say, what's it going to cost me to ship this? And then turnaround time could be, it could be 5 minutes, could be 2 days, who knows? And we really want to create an experience which is like, hey, can I get a quote right here on the sales order form? The answer is absolutely you can. And it's going to be very similar to what you saw within Shopify. So in this example, I already have a sales order, got a customer, I've got a few line items. All I have to do is click on a button that says Get ShipHawk Rates. And this is widely available today, both within NetSuite and Acumatica, and it's the same job. It's going to compile all the information here from your sales order form. It's then going to smart pack that. It's then going to reach out to your connected carriers. They return those rates, and that comes back here to NetSuite. And you'll see actually in this case, I'm showing off how ShipHawk is able to easily and elegantly shop multimodal here. When ShipHawk creates those packing configurations, it creates both a parcel and an LTL packing configuration, and that will get returned to an external system here in this case. So with here, you'll see basically the full response coming back here. I also have rules here in play to just return the 5 cheapest rates. Here, I could return 40 of them if they felt that was a good experience for that sales individual. Or you can say, hey, you know what, let's give you just 5, because if you get like 40, maybe you don't make a great decision. So that's also rules in play. There's also a 15% markup applying here. So the biggest takeaway is that on the sales order form, I can click a button and get rates easily. I don't have to go anywhere else. I'm not taken to any other solution. It's all happening right here. Further, since we're thinking about LTL, you'll see that with our Suite app, there's going to be these buttons for rating and validating addresses, also inclusion of accessorials, which are important because you want to get that right to avoid those back charges, so you can predictably capture those shipping costs up front as well and pass that to consumers instead of yourselves, obviously. So a lot of pieces, and also with the rules engine, you don't have to rely on those checkboxes. We can just say if the customer is X or is this type of customer, whatever, include a lift gate. You got to have signature required. A lot of different things here, but again, the biggest takeaway is that you click a button, you get rates, and I think that's the ideal experience for rating as far as that goes. And again, I talked about smart packing along the way. I don't want to make that seem like a barrier to entry, right? Especially, because smart packing today is going to rely upon your dimensions of your items, and getting those can be easier for some, more difficult for others. ShipHawk is still able to provide those real-time accurate rates back to a cart with just weights only. And then typically in those cases, if you're doing that, we want to perhaps apply a more generous markup just to make sure that you're not losing on shipping, perhaps making a little bit as well. So that's the rating piece. And I think as far as, I'm going to take a look at the chat here, so if any questions, I don't want to, Elise, did you want to pause here before we move into shipping?
Yeah, thanks, Rob. That was really informative. If anyone has questions around rating specifically that they'd like to ask now, after Rob just went through that, feel free to put those in the chat and we can answer that before moving on to the next section. If not, we will have 10 minutes at the end as well to answer all Q&A questions.
All right. So with that, let's move into actually the fulfillment phase, right? So as you may know, ShipHawk has a top best-in-class warehouse management solution in play. For today's demo, we're all going to focus on our packing and shipping and fulfillment TMS solution today. So what I'm going to show you is basically how that gets inherited by our shipping solution. So our WMS will kick off the actual picking process to complete that. And as far as our shipping solution is concerned, what we really need is that there is an item fulfillment record created in a picked or packed status here. And that's going to be really key here because sales orders are great. They do reflect what the customer wants. They don't necessarily reflect what's actually being fulfilled in this case. And so that's what the item fulfillment record is typically a superior record to inherit, but also sales orders are absolutely in play to sync those over as well. But in this case, we'll just go with item fulfillments, and we'll also ship this complete as well, just for a demo purpose to show what that looks like as it flows through. So basically, once the item fulfillment record is created in that picked or packed status, this is where we're going to exit NetSuite. And this design decision is similar both in the TMS and WMS offerings, is that we want to keep people outside of an ERP. And there are many reasons for that, but number one is really going to be speed and quality of experience within a platform like this, because as you know, the ERP is not really built for speed. It's really great for more of accounting, financial activities. It's great for pulling reports, but as far as warehousing, not ideal, probably not even within tolerance as well. So we want to keep people outside of that. Second, because we're going to keep you outside of NetSuite for everything, we're also going to be able to save you on licensing with your ERP as well. And this is true for Acumatica really anywhere. So those packers and shippers, they don't need licenses for your ERP as well. So that's a huge value gain as well here. So let's take ourselves out of NetSuite and let's actually get into the ShipHawk web application here. It's going to be a cloud-based application here. You'll see it in Chrome. And when you log into ShipHawk here, we take ourselves to our orders queue. You're going to see obviously a queue of orders which need to be processed, right? And so we'll get this in demo. It's obviously a little bit slower than production, so we'll give it 1 second here.
Hey,
so when you log
Rob.
in, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Hey, real quick. Sorry not to jump in. We did get a question really quick that just came in about rating. If you wouldn't mind just answering that real quick.
Sure.
Does the rating tool work for multi-carton shipments?
Oh, absolutely, it does, and you'll actually see this as well. The ShipHawk is it's not just a single package, single shipment solution. This is actually able to cartonize parcel up to through LTL as well. Yeah, many cartons. I mean, I think that we have customers shipping over 5,000 parcels as well per shipment. So elegantly able to handle that. That's a great question here. I know some of the solutions are limited to that, but ShipHawk is able to accommodate that use case. So. Very good. All right. So here in ShipHawk here, this is actually where we're automating decisions on the fulfillment piece. We saw how ShipHawk is able to, bring that reliability and to the cart level. As far as the fulfillment piece, then we want to pick it. This is where kind of smart packing or proposed shipment logic and all comes into play. So when I get to the packing ship station, you'll see that we have all these filters group. You can do filtering, grouping, sorting throughout here. And I think that's really great for our batch type shippers where they want to find basically perhaps, a bunch of onesies of a certain SKU, single SKU, single package, select 100, let it rip and get all these labels up, get all the labels, get them out the door. That is excellent. And that's something which I would be more than happy to show in a later demo. What I want to highlight today is more a discrete methodology for more of a pick, pack, and ship type of shipper, where when you show up at the pack and ship station, you know exactly what order you need to process or what tote you need to process. And totes are going to be important here too, because with ShipHawk's WMS solution, everything totes will absolutely be in play there. So you come to the pack and ship station, scan your tote, and you get your order right in front of you. In this case, I'm going to cheat a little bit because I don't have a tote, I don't have a scanner, but I know what order I want to process. So I'm going to open that up here. Again, the experience is scan that, pulls up the order. And when that order pulls up, we're going to be greeted by a proposed shipment. And the proposed shipment is going to be two things. Number one is going to be ShipHawk dictating the ideal packing configuration, again, based on the length, width, and height of your items and all the materials you have loaded into ShipHawk, like your cartons, envelopes, and pallets as well, or boxes, because we're going to make suggestions on what you actually have, right? So those are easily loaded into ShipHawk, and we'll make a determination of what is best. From here, if you wanted to say, hey, ShipHawk, great suggestion, but what should I do with it? You know, open up the smart packing modal, and keep in mind while I'm running through this and kind of driving the workflow, I'm using my mouse. Everything you see me doing with my mouse can be done with a barcode scan, right? And I actually much prefer that in a warehouse setting because barcode scanning is faster, it's easier, it's more accurate as well. But for the sake of demoing, you're using a mouse and also things might happen, right? So from here, opening that up, saying, hey, ShipHawk, making the suggestion of, hey, go grab yourself these boxes right here, and then go grab your, then you're going to pack it up in this way right here. Now, this is a proposed shipment, right? Ideal state is that somebody decided to, sorry, and this is a shared demo environment, so things don't always go the way I want them to. But as far as that goes, ShipHawk, you can say, ShipHawk, you know what, great suggestion, but I'm going to do something slightly different. This is all modifiable, right? So we have we have material barcodes, which you can use to easily change all of these materials that you see on the screen. You can use your mouse. You can see me doing here, saying, you know what, guess what, ShipHawk, I need this box. Or you say, you know what, ShipHawk, I'm going to get a little more, I'm going to be a little more aggressive here with my shipment. So I'm going to pack this up into just 2 boxes, whatever it might be. Now, again, ideal state is that ShipHawk has automated this for you with smart packing and with your business rules complementing this. So that's what we're see the results of. We could also go rate shopping again if you wanted to as well. again, keeping in mind that you really, the whole key is that we don't want people to be thinking we want to encourage this automation. We don't want to, perpetuate tribalism and these one-off things which are hard to manage. We really want a reliable system with reliable outcomes and consistent outcomes to help us scale our businesses, right? So, but again, showing what's really happening. So we're going to say ShipHawk, great suggestion. So key takeaway: scan your order, make sure that ShipHawk is like what you're seeing from here, and then go ahead and ship that. And with this piece here, what that's telling ShipHawk is that, hey, I am done with this order. I need you to go out, reach to the carrier, get my labels, get my packing slips for me. As well, you'll see a bunch of print jobs firing off right here. And the biggest takeaway is that every single thing you need as a shipper is going to be produced right now. We'll talk for LTL, it's going to be your BOL. For international, it's going to be all of your commercial invoice, this certificate of origin, shipper's letter of instruction. Everything I need as a shipper is getting done right now. For this example, this is domestic parcel. So parcel label, packing slips. If you're doing carton or pallet type labeling, where especially for those of you who are working with your vendors via EDI and you need to generate those advanced shipment notifications, these are also getting generated at this time as well. Also, with just to highlight this as well, with our warehouse management system, that would be coming out pre-shipment during the time of pack, right? But again, the TMS only here, these will be done right now. If you didn't print them out pre-shipment, they're coming out right now for you automatically. And then before I pause on small parcel, because I'm going to take you to LTL and international after this, the question then is like, okay, that's awesome. My shipper's taken care of. I get this out the door. What about my system record? What about my NetSuite, right? Well, the cool thing here is that once we get that tracking number back or the pro number back from the carrier, we're going to reach back out. We're going to update that that fulfillment record to shipped. We're going to go find that. We'll refresh here, and this is happening instantaneously, or this is happening within just a couple of seconds. So that web services job is going to get fired off. Come into here, update this to shipped, and then under the shipping tab, a couple key things here. Number one, what did it really cost you to ship this, right? To reconcile it against what you quoted upstream. Then who shipped it for any educational opportunities, good or bad, carrier and service. And then what did you ship underneath here? And then for those which need that greater, the level of granularity to be a little bit greater here as far as package detail, we also have you covered under the ShipHawk package items tab. Further for this, and this is going to be, obviously this is more specific to EDI and ASN. For SPS Commerce, for NetSuite, we have basically a direct integration with SPS, right in back to that custom tab here, and we can also create the ASN files as well. Be written back here. For those of you not using SPS Commerce, using something like B2B Gateway, Logic Broker, True Commerce, whatever it might be, we'll write back to this tab here as a generic one, and we do that just so we can work with as many providers as possible, because we know that there are a lot of choices out there for that, so we can easily this can be mapped to there. So we have many customers doing that today. So this is a good stopping point here, right? So we've talked about rating within the cart. We talked about rating in NetSuite. We talked about what the fulfillment experience is like with small parcel. I do want you to keep in mind that when we move to LTL and international, the experience is going to be remarkably similar. The design intent here is that this is supposed to be an intuitive, easy to use, predictable, repeatable outcome type of system where no matter what I ship, it's the same basic workflow. So
awesome.
And then I will go back to that. Actually, whichever one you want to start with, Elise.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, we did get a few questions while you were kind of diving into that. So kind of going back to the rate quote, can those rates get pulled back into estimates as well as sales orders? Can
Absolutely.
You just kind of maybe show that?
Yeah. So for that piece, I'll just tell you here what that's going to look like. So we 5 transaction types, obviously sales orders, quotes and estimates absolutely in play. Purchase orders in play, transfer orders in play, intercompany transfer orders. All 5 of those transaction types, that Get ShipHawk Rates button is available and can be used.
Awesome. Amazing. And then we did get another one. How does the rating work when one item has multiple packages?
Oh, sure, absolutely. So typically that's going to be a kit type item from NetSuite or similar from another ERP. So there could be 2 things, right? So the typical use case with multiple items against one SKU, that kit type item, is that the components or the child items of that kit are typically treated discretely, right? They are free. They have to be part of a parent SKU, but really they should be treated individually and discretely. We can see that. So they all have their own dimensions. They will be packed freely as needed. There's also the use case of, well, yeah, no, actually, these are not free to be treated discretely. Rather, they are exclusive to that kit. Thus, and it has fixed dimensions. we can also assign dimensions at the kit level or inherit from there. So all of those items always end up with that packing configuration instead of, again, being treated discretely.
Amazing. Thank you for kind of going over that. So kind of going into smart packing, we did have a question. Someone asked, could you go into a little more detail on smart packing? They say that they do a lot of parcel and not a lot of LTL. And are they still able to use it if they don't have product dimensions?
So that becomes a little difficult, right? So as far as the calculation for smart packing, it is looking at your length, your width, and your height of your items, right? And it's really a volumetric calculation, right? So if you don't have dimensions, so if you don't have any at all, it's going to be a little bit difficult, right? But for some of our customers, right, they may have some, but not all of them. What you could do is you can set defaults for some of your items that, hey, if they don't have dimensions, then you can set a global default for that if you'd like to as well. But the basis of the calculation is based on dimensions. So it's typically something where it's when you're looking to move to a solution like ours, it's something that may be worthwhile doing. There are many paths to getting there as well. We see this a lot, right? Because so you could, it's funny too, as a joke one time we told one of our AEs told a customer like, hey, you could just hire a bunch of interns to gather all your DIMs over the summer. And they did exactly that, right? They did that over and gathered all the dimensions that way. Also, I've also seen other companies be successful by even renting a dimensioner like a Cubiscan or Express Cube as well to gather all the dimensions. But again, the meta point or the greater point here is that we do need dimensions to run smart packing to create those predictable outcomes and best outcomes.
Mm-hmm. Great, thank you. And one last question we got here related to this, Rob. So where does that packaging material come from after, they give the dimensions?
Oh, so where does it come from? Well, so two things I can answer. So as far as it's probably more of a question of how do I get my materials into here? How does it know what's going on here? So let's actually go into here. So as far as material selection, it really comes down to what packing materials are available within the system, right? Now I have 138 different materials. This is a demo environment. A lot of different things have come up, but really you're loading in your own materials into here. And that's a quick and easy job to do that. You can obviously do it via CSV if you have a lot of different materials. So if you want to add individual ones, really, as far as that goes, just give it a name, right? Typically, what do you call it in the warehouse? Do you call it by its dimensions? Do you have like a U-line code or whatever it might be? Then what kind of material is it? Box, envelope, pallet, right here. And then what does it weigh? What's the maximum weight that could be packed into it via smart packing? Typically under 75 pounds, right? Because you'll get hit with overages there. Then what are your outer dims? What are your inner dims? Then for pallets, right? You think about, well, they're slightly different. As far as how I interact with them, as far as packing, what are the dimensions of the pallet itself? How much does it weigh? How much could go on there? And how high can I stack it, right? And then so that packing material, so the fruits of that calculation, right, are presented within the rate because those rates are tied to those packing configurations being sent to carriers and the rates they're coming back with. And then second, as you saw earlier within the order itself, right, I was greeted with that for post shipment. It told me, hey, based on the dimensions of your items and the dimensions you have available on your materials, this is the ideal packing configuration, and here are all the materials you should be using. Cool.
Great,
right.
Thank you, Rob. For
sure. So with that, let's get into LTL, right? I know that certainly it's not going to affect everybody, but as a key piece here, because I think one of the key points of our solution is a unified, flexible, scalable, right? And so you think about moving into LTL, it's certainly a reality as you grow. And so let's take a look at that here. So we'll say, webinar, LTL. I'm going to give it a name here. What we're going to do is we're going to see a simple example of LTL here. It's going to end up being just kind of a, large item on a pallet here. And I do that to keep it simple. We'll change that name here. And then we'll do this here. Add this item. I do this for a couple of reasons in every demo, because number one, that ERPs are not super fast, so I don't necessarily need to go back in and show you how the orders are created just to get it updated. And second, this shows off that you can create manual orders, and the typical use case there is that maybe you have a one-off order you need to send to a vendor, supplier, whomever. You could definitely do this within ShipHawk to easily and quickly get labels for those types of shipments. So let's get that saved here. Again, demo a little bit slower than production. We'll give it a couple seconds. And here, and when this comes up here, it's the same idea of scan the order when you come to the pack and ship station. The only difference here is that it's going to basically be different packing materials, different carrier, same experience, right? So you can see here, oh, it's a pallet instead of a box. Great. And then it's right away instead of UPS. And then from here, we'll talk about, notice down here, access to rules, which are much more relevant to LTL versus parcel. Obviously, you could do signature required on parcel, but these value added services, very much relevant to LTL. So we can automate that via rules. We can obviously manually click on them as well, which get into with rules. We won't worry about these here for a demo experience, but as far as this goes, as far as rate shopping, I find this to be more interesting for LTL because I typically see this happening where you do rate shop this again. And so you can see here, same experience as you saw in NetSuite, same experience as you saw in Shopify. It's just a different user interface, right? And you can see here, I have all my different carrier accounts connected here. You can see us using a 3PL usage. It's pretty prevalent within our user base, especially on Worldwide Express, a big partner of ours. CH Robinson, Quad, a bunch of different other 3PLs we support. You can see who that is, who it's really being brokered by underneath here. And so you can see a lot of options underneath here. And then in this case, I actually am going to make a decision to change this just for demo purposes, as one of our other demo accounts is a little bit slower. So we'll make that change here, just showing you can make those changes. The end goal is no one has to think about this, but things do happen. So from here, the only difference is that when I go to ship this now, it's going to ask me a couple of questions that are relevant to the dispatch and the BOL. So it's going to ask me, when's it ready? When should I be showing up on dispatch? When are you leaving? So it's not 9 a.m. anymore. So I'll say this is going to be ready to go by 2 p.m. Pacific today. I'm leaving at 5. As far as the per number goes, right? A lot of questions come up here about, okay, well, what do I put in here? Because the carrier, I don't know what it is until the carrier shows up and they're giving me a sticker and all that. Good thing about us is that our integrations are all API and web services based. So the per number is assigned at this time by the carrier, and it's the same per number that's going to be that your driver is going to be showing up with as well. So you don't need to add anything at this time. However, you can do that, and if you want to work with your own book of pros, we're going to do that just to make it go a little bit faster. Further, for pickup and delivery instructions, we can source this from an ERP here. If it's already existing within there, I can pull it up so no one has to type anything in. Of course, you can freely change this, modify, add, and I'm going to do that here just to show you where it goes on the BOL. Then I'm going to go ahead and book this. And then by default, this is both being booked with the carrier, so you don't need to call them or anything like that. Go to the website or reach directly out to them. We're also dispatching this load as well. All right, so again, that's going to be all one click, all ready to go, all of your documents being created for that. For those of you which have like drop shellers and all that, who really never need to dispatch, we can turn off auto dispatching and you can just manually dispatch if you'd like to. So really it's flexible based on what your business needs as far as LTL goes. And with LTL, the last piece here is just basically, well, what does the BOL look like, right? Is it going to be sufficient for my needs? Well, good news is it's going to be, it's going to be a VIX standard BOL. It's going to get printed out automatically. We'll make this a little bit bigger. And then really this should be this shouldn't be a surprise, right? This should be exactly what you need at the time of pickup from the carrier. So you're going to see all the information about the load here. You're going to see up below the BOL number, you have up to 3 references on here. You're going to see the pro number and a barcoded version of the pro number here as well. And then the content of the load here as well. So it's everything you need here on the BOL. And again, generated automatically, printed automatically at the time of shipment. So that's LTL. I know there's a lot to go in a lot to think about with LTL, but the biggest takeaway here is it's the same experience basically versus parcel, different carriers, but all my documentation is being taken care of now. We'll get to packing slips and card labels a little bit later, which are relevant to all types of shipping, but that is the LTL experience. And again, I don't see any questions here about LTL specifically. So.
Yeah, and if you guys have any questions on this, whether it's parcel or LTL, again, feel free to put those into the chat and we can answer those.
And then the last type of order here is going to be international, right? So it's going to be strikingly similar to parcel. The biggest difference here is about getting the right information onto the shipment within ShipHawk and getting the right docs generated quickly and easily at the time of shipment. So what we're going to do here is for international, while I'm creating this, for international parcel, that's going to be fully supported out of the US and Canada for parcel. For international LTL, we only support US to Canada LTL and only with FedEx Freight and T-Force Freight. Certainly as internationalization becomes more important within our platform, we'll build that up further, but For international LTL, again, just US to Canada, just the top 2 LTL carriers. So in this case, because of that, we're going to do a parcel order here going international webinar T. And we're going to do it just a single one here as well. And what you'll notice straight away, as I want to start getting this item in here, is that ShipHawk already knows what your HS codes and your country manufacturer are for international. So we're going to go, here's this guy right here. So already right here, and this is being sourced from NetSuite, and at least ideally. I mean, yes, ShipHawk can house, can store information that doesn't exist in NetSuite, but I would highly not recommend that, right? We don't want disparate data between multiple different systems. We want to treat your ERP as the system of record, the source of truth for item data in here. So
Hey,
we are.
hey, Rob, real quick. Related to that, I didn't mean to cut you off. We did have a question related to this. So if does ShipHawk pull in item fulfillments from NetSuite? So say they use a different WMS system, are they able to complete a shipment in ShipHawk based off of the fulfillment that would write back to NetSuite the details
Absolutely.
of that shipment?
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, as far as the ShipHawk's WMS, that's already been around for about a year. So as far as that goes, we have tons of customers who are in our Smart today, NetSuite WMS. Basically, as far as I'm concerned, the team, our shipping solution side, I just need some system or some person to create me an item fulfillment record in a pick or pack access, which allows for this great flexibility in whatever warehouse management solution you choose or currently have. All right, cool.
Awesome. Thanks, Rob.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So from here, this is international, and again, it's just a lot of the same thing, but these are important parts of your business here. And so for international to make this go well, right, we do need to have that data, which is being sourced from NetSuite. As far as the pieces that are unique to international that we're handling, obviously different services, but more importantly, the data for that. So we already have that loaded up here as far as the information you'll need to book and for the commercial invoice and other documentation. As far as for AES filing or EEI exemptions, what you'll see here is that for those shipments that you are not exempt for that, once you've done your filing with AES, you'll pop in your ATN up top here. For any shipments that are exempt, you can then add that code at this time. Also, if you want to set a global default for an EEI exemption, that can be done as well within our settings. You don't have to think about it. So in this case, we'll assume the happy case that no, it's going up to Canada. It's definitely it's going up to Canada. Don't have to worry about any kind of filing with AES. So we're good to go. And then really here, the same idea. Change it if you want to, but why would you? Go ahead and ship it. And so once this is done, this will kick off the, of course, get your parcel labels, get your packing slips and all that. As far as international docs go, if you're doing paperless, we support the paperless integration with USPS, UPS, FedEx, and DHL. And then for those countries that, of course, that's for supported countries, right? So they're like Brazil, some countries do not support paperless trade at all, and you need to give them paper copies. So for that piece, we're going to automatically print those out for you. And then what do those look like is typically the question after that. So we'll go, so the commercial invoice here. Yes, so I'll address that question right now. Yes, international parcels absolutely in play. Yeah, but so officially supported origin points out of the US and Canada. So we do have some customers who do ship from international points as well. Key point to remember there is that for ShipHawk, it's all American English, it's all US dollars, or one currency, and then using our supported carriers like FedEx and UPS. So because we do have a couple customers in Germany and the Netherlands that they just use FedEx and UPS, and just English is totally fine. Thus, they are able to successfully ship with us, though it's not officially supported. So not always a barrier to entry there, but international parcel has robust support today, I'd say. So. And then Mexico, yeah, I think what I just said might have addressed what you're asking there. If for Mexico, it's all English, it's all one currency, and so if you're good with that, Mexico's totally fine. We have customers shipping out of Mexico today, again with supported carriers. LTL with Mexico can be very interesting, and it's not supported. So only parcel could possibly be supported out of there. So, and that one I want to follow up with you on that one, just to any port of record. For that one, yes, that can be. So as far as the importer record, that can be noted on the commercial invoice here. There's not any fancy integration with the importer record number. Other than that, though, you got your EI actually, and you might be referring to basically your for your EIN or tax number. I forget the other acronym for it, more for the European Union, but that could be specified up top here for the booking and of the shipment and your documentation purposes. So cool. And we always can come back to this, guys. We got 18 minutes left, so I think we're gonna have enough time here. So anyways, international documentation, all good here. We can also change where this stuff is being sourced from. The template today is fixed, but where we're sourcing it from can be changed. You have different custom fields within NetSuite or ERP. You can definitely look somewhere else for stuff, especially like Incoterms, or even that tax identification number. So you got that going. As far as the other docs you will probably need, you create your certificate of origin here. So we'll do the USMCA for up to Canada, down to Mexico, and then for anybody else, just get a generic guy here. And then if you're doing any kind of freight forwarding type of shipping, then we can also do the shipper's load of instruction for you, and you can have multiple different templates for that, which I'm not going to show here, but if that's the case, I'm more than happy to show that in the future demo. So that's international. So insofar, we covered a lot, and it's meant to be an introductory, but also comprehensive overview of what ShipHawk is offering. And again, this is basically what I would show you in a post-discovery within a sales cycle as well. So you're seeing the real deal here. So from here, I want to move us into rules and reporting, and we'll have a little bit of time at the end for any other additional questions. So let's talk about rules. Talk about a lot about them. So we're going to take this deeper dive. Here we are. So for rules, these are freely available to modify, change, whatever you like to within the platform. Key differentiator here is that you don't need to wait for us to make any changes on the engineering side. We enable you to create these powerful business affecting rules here at any time, right? So question is, how do I do it? What can it do? Well, I'll show you just through creating one here, or showing how they are created. So we'll create a new rule. And with rules, there are two flavors. We have rating rules, which affect how rates are displayed to external systems. So it's going to be your Shopify instances, BigCommerce, Magento, SuiteCommerce Advanced, whatever it might be, or NetSuite even. So those are all in play. Then we have shipping policies, and those affect how we make decisions at the time of fulfillment, right? So we'll start with rating just because it's up top and it happened earlier in the process. So for that, I'm going to go down to basically the actions, right? So understanding that the native behavior is just to return all of your negotiated rates back to the cart. That, again, may not always be ideal, especially for the customer experience or even your own fulfillment experience. So all the things you can do hang out right here, and there's a heck of a lot of things you can do here, right? But again, the most typical things we see are markups on there, and they can be different per cart, per experience. They can be, for masking the carrying service, so not pigeonholing ourselves into certain carrying service, allowing us to optimize on the back end. We got free shipping over a certain spend, stuff like that. Using certain carriers, not using as well. So a heck of a lot of things you can do here. Kind of have you read through here, and then as far as shipping policies go, and then I'll answer your question here too, David. It's as many rules as you want. You're not limited on the number of rules. You can have 1,000, you can have one. You can have 10,000. So yeah, absolutely. I would say that rules here. This is something that comes up in the implementation a lot as well, where rules feel like there's something you have to use, right? Because with some other solutions out there, you have to tell it exactly what to do at all times. That is not the reality of a ShipHawk. ShipHawk is already doing a lot of automation on its own. Rules exist to complement that existing functionality. So I would say in most instances, we're only creating a few, maybe 10 rules, some 3, some more, depending on that, especially if you really hate SurePost. Want to say never use them, right? Or like medium, some other things too. So for drop ships, we will get there. I will tell you, as far as drop shipping, we have modules for alternate return addresses. So changing the origin address on parcel labels. Also for branded packing slips, we have a full HTML liquid editor for packing slips as well. So you can do your double blind shipping as well. We have a lot of customers who do a ton of blind shipping on that. So, and then so I'll answer this question too, since we're here on rules. This is restricted to only admin users. It's not just just your new warehouse guy or gal coming in here affecting your rules. No, we don't want that. That is gated by role within the platform. So very good. So as far as that goes, the rule creation, then you have these rating rules. As far as the shipping policies, the list is different because we're going to do different things at the time of fulfillment. So again, those branded packing slips for your drop shipping. Right. So, and I know that dropshipping could also mean that as far as someone else dropshipping on your behalf as well. I'll leave it to basically the more blind shipping relationship today. And then a lot of different things as far as applying service days filter. Maybe I promise getting it there within X amount of days. ShipHawk, please choose for me the best carrier and service that gets it there within that promise time as well. As far as third-party billing situations as well, automatically setting those accounts, collect as well, recipient as well. So a lot of different things you can do here. What I want you to take away from this is basically a lot of those things that you're doing manually today are going to be things that we're automating for you. Because yes, you could do it manually, but why would you? Is the biggest thing I want to cover here. And so for instance, I'll just say, hey, let's just do as far as a rate, we'll just make a simple one here. So this like kind of markup rate by this percent. Let's say nice little 15%. Then when does it happen, right? So a lot of different things you can qualify it with, right? So you can see a bunch of different standard order data like address centric, customer centric, item centric. Also, if you already have product categories and some subcategories set up, that's a really easy way to set up rules based on the type of product it is, which is pretty nice to have. Further, if there's something in here like, hey, I don't see this certain field that I use in NetSuite to, for information that triggers things in my existing solution, then I'd say, well, cool, well, we can map that over, and we do that via reference number mapping. So any custom or native field at the header level from the sales order, transport order, that item fulfillment, wherever it might come from, then perhaps something like maybe you call it ship via or whatever. Then if it contains this field, then do this, right? And the criteria today is ANDed criteria. So if we add more, it means this and this must be true for this rule to apply. Good news is that here early next year, we're making this a more robust solution as far as flexibility for rules, more comparative operators and or switches, else if, all that different fun stuff you may have today or want today. We're going to be adding that in to make rule administration even easier than it is today. So that's rules, and I got 2 minutes left here, guys. But I think we're going to be okay. The last piece is about reporting, right? So of those 4 things, we talked about rating, packing, rules, and now reporting. So of course, everyone loves their data, needs their data, wants their data. How do you get it from us? A few ways, really. So let's go to up top here. If you are an admin user or a shipping manager within our platform by role, when you log in, you're greeted with the command and control dashboard. I don't think it needs a lot of explanation because if you look at it, you know exactly what it's trying to tell you. But key highlights here, I would say, number one, looking at, I think performance is the biggest one here, something you may not be able to glean as easily today. Understanding how good are your carriers really at the end of the day. So for instance, perhaps you use a hyper regional one, maybe like Speedy, or using something like LaserShip, something like that, where yes, their rates they're stunning. They're so good, but their on-time delivery is not so great. You can be able to glean that from there. So maybe an opportunity to diversify, move volume to somebody else, helping you make those important business decisions here just with a simple dashboard. This is one of the dashboards. The other visual tool as part of the base platform is the weekly shipping performance here. So just more week over week trend within the platform. So again, not a lot of explanation here. Obviously, these two are pretty clear. As far as the value that ShipHawk's providing, right? You say, well, where does that come from? So is it versus published? Because that's cheating. Cool thing is that it's not. What it's actually doing is showing you how much we've optimized, right? So versus the same level of service where your negotiated rates, you made better choices here, and here's the difference of that. So how much value are you really being provided by using the ShipHawk platform and decision automation features? Then underneath here, just kind of like KPI stuff, who's crushing it, who should be hanging with whom to get a little bit better, and more things. And then fun facts about logistics, which is why we're all here. And then which week you're looking at right here. So this is part of the base platform. Other ways to get information, get your data from ShipHawk. Number one, a little more of a blunt tool, but super effective. If you just want shipment data to be kicked out to a CSV, here it is. So create a new report. What data points you're looking for? What date or date range? Create it. Then it's going to kick out that CSV. Then you get to run all of your favorite formulas and macros on it. So that's another way of getting information from us. Also, highlight again, we have that Open REST API. So if you want to integrate your best-in-class business intelligence solution with ShipHawk, more than free. REST query language is fully in play here. And then last, if none of that was exciting enough, then here at ShipHawk, we actually use Looker as our business intelligence solution. So we figure, okay, well, we're pretty good with it. And we have your data. So let's just offer this as another service here. So this is an example of one of those. It could be fancy, it can be more a dashboard type of reporting via Looker. Looker is an insanely powerful tool. So I've used it before, you know what you're getting here. And then this is one here, just heat map, kind of KPI type of stuff. And we can also kick out just kind of, you know, straight data. This is all distributed via email as well to whichever emails at whatever interval you want. And this basically, this kind of service we offer, you get to work with our account management and revenue and sales operations teams who are pretty slick with this stuff. So with that, guys, that's what I really wanted to show you. In review, again, we're talking about those 4 workflows, right? Which is your rating, packing, reporting, and rules. But along the way, you basically saw the demo I would give you on the shipping side here as well. So you got to see a lot here as well. So here, actually, at this point, I'm going to hand it to y'all and see what questions you have that we didn't already cover.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you, Rob. I always walk away with so much knowledge after you go over things. So thank you. And thank you everyone for joining today's call. As Rob mentioned, if you guys have any questions that you'd like to get answered now, feel free to put those into the chat. Perfect. And while we're waiting for those, I'll just do a quick a little shout out. If you guys want to double your chances of winning our grill giveaway, and we have it in the chat there as well, but we'll be giving everyone an extra entry to anyone who has a one-on-one 15-minute conversation with a ShipHawk team member before December 15th. And we'll send an email after this with all of that and, you know, how to book time as well as a recording of today's webinar. All right, looks like we got one question. Where do you access Looker?
So the way we distribute the reports is we don't give you access to Looker. Rather, we just email you the reports. But obviously, we could look at with you on the you know, account management RevOps side. But no, it's yeah. Actually, if you want to, actually, I'd highly recommend Looker as a BI solution if you wanted then your own organization today. But now from us, we'll distribute that for you to your emails from Looker.
Perfect. Don't see any more questions. If you guys do have any questions that come up later, again, feel free, you can email me directly or respond to the follow-up email that we'll be sending out with any questions you might have. All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a great one.
Thanks, y'all.
Bye.